Your homework this week will be on the last of the string instruments that we will be doing this year, and that is the double bass. Now let's read. From the 1500s, the double bass has made its way from European orchestras to today's popular music in performances other than classical music. So it's not only in the orchestra and the symphony orchestra and in classical music that we find the double bass. We can have it in jazz bands, for instance, as well. Let us check out some fun musical facts about the double bass and its history. Now, we've done all the other string instruments. We know that most of them were made in northern Italy, in Cremona. We know the makers, Cremona and Stradivarius and Amati. Now let's find out about the double bass. The double bass is the largest and lowest pitched bowed instrument in the modern symphony orchestra. While the violin and violas are relatively manageable to hold, of course, I hold it under my chin, the double bass is quite a bit larger. As a result, double bass players sit on high bar stools in the orchestra. So it's not a normal chair. It's higher than a normal chair. Or stand, as they often have some of the biggest muscles in the orchestra. Although the double bass is made in several different sizes, the largest instrument is normally under 6 feet. So that's 1.8 meters in total length, while the body being up to 1.4 meters tall. As the deepest voice in the violin family, the double bass is pitched an octave lower than the cello. Okay, so if you click on the links here, it will take you to videos on the cello. Number 2, it usually has 4 strings pitched to E, A, D, G. However, you may also find a double bass with 5 strings. That's not the norm, with a 5th string added to the higher register. This allows the musician to play higher notes than they can with just 4 strings. The origin of the name of the double bass stems from the fact that its initial function was to double the bass line of larger ensembles with a cello. So that means that they played exactly the same music. I'll also show you an example just now. For a long time, the cello and the double bass shared the same line of music, and they seldom played different notes. So they shared the same line and they played the same music. It isn't clear who exactly was the first one to build a double bass, but whoever it was, they didn't design it on their own. The double bass is thought to have originated as a direct descendant of other 15th century string instruments in the viol and violin families. Now we know the old instrument, the viol, the predecessor of the violin. So we're not clear on who built the first first double bass. We know about the violin and the viola and the cello, but we're not sure about the double bass. While the double bass is the official title for this instrument, in most cases, it also has a few other names that you might hear it called occasionally. Orchestral members often call the double bass simply the bass. You might also hear composers and musicians refer to it as the contrabass, the string bass, the upright bass, because you have to stand to play it, the bass fiddle, maybe more in traditional folk music, stand-up bass, or the bull fiddle. So the moment that I call something a fiddle, it will not play in a symphony orchestra. Number 6, we read about 2 different types of bows. The double bass can be played using 2 different types of bows. The French or Bottesini bow resembles a cello bow, but it's shorter and heavier. And the second is a German Simandl or Butler bow. Depending on what type of music a double bass is played, They might play with their fingers. We know that title or the name pizzicato, or they might play with a bow, arco. And I'm going to ask this in class, the two types that they can play. Pizzicato, when they pluck the strings, or when they play with a bow, arco. And if you click on that link, you will find more information. The double bass is one of the standard orchestra instruments you'll find in any orchestral lineup. Double basses do not sound very loud because of the low notes. Therefore, orchestras need anywhere between 4 and 8 basses in the string section. We know that we have a lot of violins, and the violins even split up in first and second violins. We have violas, we did the cellos last, but we only in an orchestra need 4 to 8 basses in the string section. The feature of the double bass is that it's very versatile. Let's read number 8. The double bass is probably one of the most versatile instruments in an orchestral lineup, as you'll find it in a lot of other genres of music. Genres mean type. The double bass is common in jazz bands, rockabilly, blues, swing music, rock, bluegrass, country music, tango, and many more. If you're unsure about any of these genres, just take a few minutes and go onto YouTube and try and listen to a few of these. It is one of the most flexible instruments available, and musicians across the spectrum value it highly. Military and concert bands across the globe use it. I can't see them marching in a military band, but maybe if they play it without moving. So if you click on this link, it will take you to a video where you can watch this. Number 9, Mozart composed one of the first brilliant double bass works to appear in print. The bass aria Per questo bella mano. When we watch the score, we find a lot of double stoppings in the score. Okay, so if you click on that link, it will take you to the score. It's an example of the score, and what you can see there is this is now for a bass voice. So we have the whole section here with the flutes, the oboes, the bassoons, the horns, and we have a double bass obbligato that will play there. We will have the bass singing there, and then this is followed by the violins splitting into 2, the viola, and there you see the violoncello and the contrabass, the rest of them not playing the solo, sharing a line. And here you can see that this solo double bass must play double stopping, you know double stopping still, where I have to play 2 notes at the same time, and quite a difficult part. Okay, while the rest of the cellos and the double bass, they just have single notes there. I will also add this to your Google Classroom, that you can have a look at this difficult double bass obbligato that I have there. So this is quite interesting. This is quite difficult for a double bass to play. Now we saw on the score now that the double bass music is written in the bass clef, and for the higher notes, the music will move to the tenor clef. Although it's known that Joseph Haydn wrote the earliest concerto composed for the double bass in 1763, it is unknown what the piece actually sounded like, because it was stored in the Eisenstadt Library in Austria, the site of many wars and invasions that saw the library burned to ashes. So that was, of course, lost to the tragic fire, and the earliest existing double bass concerto was written by Karl Ditters von Dittersdorf, an accomplished Austrian composer in the 18th century. He was also a friend of Joseph Haydn and Mozart. And then I have other videos that you can watch. So you just click on the link. Let's click on a link and see what happens. So there I clicked on a list. there, and there I see interesting facts about the double bass. So let's go through your homework. I will ask you to name 5 interesting facts about the double bass in class. Now we're doing flipped classroom now, so you will go through this video at home maybe a few times. Click on all those links and make sure that you understand the double bass. You do not need to print out the papers, but I'm going to give you a paper to write down 5 interesting facts about the double bass. It's important that you click on all the YouTube links to watch videos on the YouTube. So I've got this double bass document here that I have on the video, and there I have a score of the music where the double bass plays very interesting and difficult things. So this is your work. Go through everything and make sure that you understand this.